so I did Hansel and Gretel as well. Okay, so my first scene I did kids and the parents. I didn't really know at the beginning how I wanted to start my presentation. Like, if I wanted to start with creating all the characters first, or if I wanted to start with creating all the scenes first. So I basically just started with my characters. I wanted them to be simple, and then I said I kind of wanted to add some color to them, and I needed hands because later in the scenes they'd be doing motions. Then this is my first scene. I decided that I'd start with creating the scenes because I thought it'd be easier than trying to make the people work into the scenes. I put the house in the background to show that the parents were leading the kids away from the house. Then I added a pathway from the house. And then I added a ground color so that you could tell that the house was further in the background. And then I added trees to show that they were leaving into the forest. And that Hansel was leaving crumbs, is what those are there. That he was leaving crumbs to find their way out of the forest later. And then I added a tear to the dad because he was sad that he had to leave his kids in the forest. But then I changed it to a square because I couldn't decide whether or not I liked the circles or not. But then I decided I did not like the square. So I added 3 teardrops to show that he was sad. This is my second scene. They are left in the forest by themselves. Obviously I changed it because it was later at night, so I made them darker because they wouldn't be as blue at night. So I made the kids darker, and then I added the woods. And then I added a fire because they need to be warm at night. And then I added the breadcrumbs to show that they were they could find their way back out of the forest in the morning. And I added a couple more and some more trees. And then I added rocks around the fireplace, or around the fire to show that it was actual fire. Next I created the witch. I couldn't decide what I liked for her because she's an old woman. So I made her slouched over, and then I added a cane to show that she's really old, and then I changed her to gray and added a hat. And then this is my third scene. That's the oven. I didn't think you could really tell it was an oven, so I added countertop there. And I wanted to create that 3D effect. So I had to add a countertop. And that didn't really look right, so then I shrunk it down a little bit. And then I added the oven door and put the witch in it because Gretel ends up pushing the witch into the oven. And then I added a window for detail. And this is my bubble. I added a cage and gave it 3D effect and put Hansel in it because at the same time that she's leaving the witch in the oven, Hansel is being locked in his cage, to get fattened. I put the white bird that leads them to the house in the window to show that that's how they got to the house. And I added curtains to the window to make it more like a kitchen. And I put the trees, and I added the hat later to the witch's character because I didn't think you could really tell it was a witch at first. And then these are my 3 final scenes.
Actually, if you just pull the buggy out and then hit that middle icon on the bottom. All right, that'll give you a good sense.
Any questions? Jake?
Your first scene, I almost switched their hands around to the other side because, at least for me, it looks like they're walking the other way than the way you said they were. It looks like they're following the littlest kid instead of following the dad, just because their hands are behind them.
Well, to me, I thought that the characters, since they're in order from tallest to greatest, so I had the dad the tallest, and the mom, because height difference in male and women, the different sex roles. So I figured that most people follow their elders, so their parents. So that's why I put them the way they are. And I needed to be able to see his hand, so he could see the breadcrumbs being led back to the house. So that's why I chose that.
You might have to could just work a little harder on how to show the hands. Because I want to suggest one thing to you. You're representing a kind of traditional sizing by a traditional role. But who's the dominant parent in this story?
The mom.
I would be very tempted to make her out front. And the problem with having shapes this simple is that if you do, one of the things that will help you showing her dominant, which is to make her the largest character, then because there's not any real distinction with the father and the mother, you have a problem again. This is what I mean when I say the simpler the shapes you go with, the more difficult it is to create action in your scenes. And I think that you could put something on the mother and the father. I don't know what exactly you want to pick. It could be anything like, something that makes it look more like a dress or whatever for the one character. But that mother is the dominant character, and I don't think they're going to be led by the father into the woods. So I think you could, rather than having them now as they appear to be in the straight line by size, we want to have a sense of somebody being out front and somebody holding back, which would be logically Hansel, because he's trying to discreetly distribute the stones, right? And really have a sense of that mother being the driving force. Because remember, you want to have as much action, and the action is actually in part her leadership as you can. So I think you can do more with that scene.
Any other questions? Angela?
Can you explain why you changed the color in the second scene?
Of the kids?
Yeah.
Because it's at nighttime, and I put the fire blue because fires, I couldn't do red because you only have 4 colors. So I made it blue because the hottest flame of fire is blue. And I made the kids gray because at night you wouldn't really be able to tell what color somebody is.
You might be able to put the kids this side of the fire, though, for example, or something to show them a little bit. Right now, they're kind of fading into the space between the trees, right? It's a technical problem, but just, I think by repositioning them a bit, you could get rid of that problem.
Okay.
There's a lot more questions should be asked here.
Eric?
I just really like how you added a lot of depth in all of your scenes, even though the first two aren't really 3D shaped like the last one. The smaller trees as they get far away and the small house just adds a lot of depth. I like that.
Okay.
I like all the details that you have in the last.
A little louder here.
I like all the details that you have in the last scene, like with the other scene on the side or in the corner. It's nice.
I think in that last scene, got some hands over there.
Jake.
With that last, why'd you make the oven so big? Okay.
Because I had to fit the witch in it, and in the story, they explained that, people were big enough to fit in it, so I made the oven bigger so that you could obviously fit a person in it.
I think the whole door to it might be a little bigger, because it's kind of hard to figure out how unless you want, maybe like the cops putting people in cars, but you have a Gretel pushing the head down, so they miss the top of the car or something. But I think you might want a little bigger door on the oven, just so it looks like she can get down there. I mean, she doesn't have to be down any farther, but just show that there would be a little more. Other comments about this last scene while we're on it?
I really liked how you had the second scene going on with Hansel. I initially thought when you were presenting you should have put him in there, and then when you did I was pleased.
Okay, one thing about your insert, I think a pure circle might work better for you, because the cloud is kind of busy right there. And the main action really is that the witch is going in, right? And the secondary actions, we want to know that at the same time that Hansel is still locked up. We know that she'll come and free him later, that Gretel will, etc. This might also be something you might consider, which would be to put Hansel up in the left, just in a pure circle, etc., and bring the witch and Gretel, since they're the big action, out to the front for us. And it'd just be a matter of resizing and repositioning to do that. But it's a question of, yes, they're happening at the same time, but there's a really important climactic moment here.
Going off of what you said, with the cloud type thing, to me it almost looks like a thought bubble, like she's thinking about him locked up and that she needs to go to him later, or get him out later. But like you could have added like little thought bubbles coming from her head to show that a little better.
I think she's got her hands full getting the witch in the oven, and I don't want you to concentrate too much on thought bubbles. It really is, the way Megan explained it, you want to know that this is simultaneously true, because the instinct is, why isn't the other child helping? Well, it's because simultaneously he is locked up. But that is the lesser thing of it there. And it's the lesser action, which is actually an inaction, who's being locked up, of the two scenes, and you want to foreground the big action, I believe, there. You notice anything else? And there's some obvious questions, and you haven't talked about her delivery yet, so. Louis? Make a contribution. No one's asked her why she picked blue as the only color. Why aqua blue?
Why did you choose blue?
I chose blue. I didn't really know, I didn't really play around with the colors really. I just wanted something that stuck out more. And I kind of like blue because it's like more of a settling tone in a presentation, I thought. Sticks out a little bit more. So. And the main like focus was the kids, so I wanted them to be more like influential in my scenes.
Okay, do you think that really worked that well?
Using the blue,
Yeah, aqua blue particularly.
I think they look fine.
You know, I'll tell you, I don't. And here's why. You just told me it was, to begin with, that it was a calmer color. Fires aren't calm. These kids who are worried they're going to be eaten are not going to be calm either. The curtains could be calm, but when you get to the final three scenes there, and you look at what the blue is doing for us, it's not doing a lot. For one thing, the blue fades to the gray a little bit in your first final scene. Same thing happens over there with her head. And there's nothing particular, no particular reason, well, the action of the second scene, there's no real reason why the fire needs to be blue. So I would be sorting around in my mind and look in the cloud where you have Hansel. He too tends to fade into that gray, and you're saying the kids are important. So I don't think this is a prominent color, just shake the, like hit the space bar. I don't think it's a prominent enough color. What other colors could be used here? There's some suggestions from Ressie. Ethan, what could she use other than the aqua blue?
You could use a more, I suppose, energetic color, like a red or an orange, just to show that the kids are afraid and that it's a fire.
Okay, other suggestions? Something other than a red or an orange? Something else that would work for a reason? Jake, do you have an idea about color that she could use there?
Honestly, I like the blue.
Why?
I like the color blue.
Yeah, I
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. It's
Lots
not-
of people
it's
like
not,
color
scary,
blue.
but
What does it do for these scenes?
I mean, it complements them because blue and gray go together very well, but I mean, to try to get the effect that you're looking for, I mean, you try a darker color, I mean, I think a red might do it, or even a purple like what Tom had, and
You have a hand over here.
Austin?
I was gonna say, yeah, I like the blue too. I mean, it shows like, it's kind of a playful color to little kids. You
So
said
that's
fires
really a
aren't like-
playful story, isn't it?
Well, you're saying like.
fire is
okay,
playful.
No.
Why
The
why
fire,
is
okay,
it here?
you're saying like, a fire isn't like calming, but like a bonfire to me is calming. Like sitting at, who doesn't love a good bonfire, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know, I thought the blue worked, I didn't have a problem with the blue.
The only reason that I would use the red is because the witch's eyes in the story, like witches have red eyes, because they can't see. That's the only reason I would use it, and I didn't feel like that was very crucial to try and portray into my scenes.
All I can say to you guys is I'm keeping this class list and I'm never hiring a designer from anybody in here. You cannot see the distinction on the slide between the, you can use a blue, but you need one with a heavier saturation than this. You've got too much of the major figures who are supposed to be seen are fading into the gray.
I guess another thing you could do is maybe instead of gray, use another color.
Yeah, that would work too.
Even though the gray does look really nice, I think that could help out.
Well, you could use a much darker gray, for one thing. And that would have some other advantages, which would be what?
Maybe making them stick out a little more in the wood scene with the fire.
it would make it look more menacing.
Yes, this is a horrible story. It's about human cannibalism. And it can't be fluffy or light or calm. We need something heavier there. Okay, thank you very much.